So if you didn't know already, AMD recently released their FidelityFX Super Resolution technology. Now, being somebody that got back into building gaming PCs just before the GPU crisis started, I unfortunately missed out on all that NVIDIA DLSS and RTX performance gaining magic. But as I do have some systems around in the studio with some AMD graphics cards, I thought I would give FSR a go and see what it would bring to those budget gamers out there. AMD's FidelityFX Super Resolution, or FSR for short, is AMD's answer to NVIDIA's DLSS. It's a cutting-edge upscaling technology that helps boost frame rates in games without you actually having to buy another graphics card. I'm not going to pretend to fully understand how the technology works, but in its basic form, AMD uses a cutting-edge algorithm that takes an image rendered at a lower resolution than natively set by the user and puts it through two passes of upsampling and sharpening to produce an exact copy of enhanced clarity. In other words, AMD's FSR allows a graphics card to render an image at a lower resolution and through AMD's magic output it at a higher resolution, meaning there is less work for the graphics card to do and in return improving performance. Now, AMD's FSR is different to NVIDIA's DLSS in many ways. Although it is aimed to produce similar effects with similar quality settings, it uses a completely different technology implementation, and that's not all. Unlike NVIDIA's DLSS, FSR is supported by a long backlog of AMD graphics card, from the newly released Radeon 6000 series all the way back to the Radeon 400 series, and including the Ryzen APUs with Radeon Vega graphics. But it also supports NVIDIA's 10, 20 and 30 series graphics cards. Because of this, not only AMD graphics card users will get the free upgrade, NVIDIA graphics card users will also get the same. Thanks AMD. But enough talking about it, let's take a look at how it works and see if it's as good as they say. For this demo we decided to grab a copy of Terminator Resistance, which is one of the few games that currently has FSR support. The minimum specs for this game according to Steam is an i3 4160 or an AMD FX 8350 with 8GB of RAM and either a GTX 1050 or an RX 560. The additional notes also specify that the spec is required to obtain 60 FPS at 1080p using medium quality settings. The system we're going to be using is our editing machine, which is currently set up with an AMD Ryzen 7 1700, 32GB of RAM and an RX 564GB. So as far as graphics card goes, we're on the minimum specs required. Now let's get into the game itself. So if we take a look at the settings of the game, we're currently running at 1080p, full screen. We can set this to high settings, but then we want to turn vertical sync off, which will set it to custom, and we've got FidelityFX Super Resolution 1.0 set to off. We'll apply those settings and we'll just kick off the game and see what we've got. So as we can see, the FPS is currently at 35, with the average, if we reset that, sticking around the 37. Quality wise the game looks pretty good, but it is quite low frames per second. We're obviously not hitting that 60 that we would get if we set it to medium settings. Looking at the world, it's quite detailed, so this graphics card isn't doing too well, although as the game builds up it may actually start slowing down. But what happens if we turn Super Resolution on? If we now drop back to the settings and we'll go to the FidelityFX Super Resolution and we'll set it to performance mode first, and we'll see what difference it makes. So as we can see, our FPS is instantly increased to around 83, 84, and we'll reset those stats so that we can start measuring. Clearly at this rate we've actually doubled the frames per second, and the game doesn't actually look that much different. There's obviously a clear difference in quality, but as far as playability goes, it's not too bad. But what happens if we actually turn the quality up on the FSR? So if we go to something more in the quality range, we'll start running it. Straight away we can see that our frames per second are still increased over the original, but the quality is actually pretty damn close now to the native resolution. We're currently getting around 59 frames per second or 63 on average, which is more than playable, and if we were to lock the VSync in we'd probably get quite a constant 60. So straight away, I'm actually quite impressed. Seeing how well AMD's FSR worked on our RX 560, it got me thinking about our super budget gaming PC that we've been building. Now if you haven't been watching those videos, I'll drop a link to the top and they're well worth going to watch. But if you have been watching them, you'll know that that system started as an A series processor, and then we recently moved it to a Ryzen 5 2400G APU. Now that APU has Radeon Vega 11 graphics and technically doesn't meet the minimum requirements for Terminator Resistance, but we were wondering if AMD's FSR could actually give it the boost it needed to get the game running. To figure this out, we dug out the super budget gaming PC, we updated the drivers, installed the game, and thought we'd give it a go. So straight away we've managed to actually get the game running, and in the menu we're getting roughly around 29 frames per second, which isn't bad for the little machine it is. If we take a look at the options, we're currently running in 1080p with FidelityFX Super Resolution turned off, as well as VSync, and we're running in a custom setting which is technically high, but with VSync turned off. So in theory this machine shouldn't really play this game at all. But if we jump into the game, and we'll take a look at what we actually get when we're walking around into the environment, and we'll see what this machine can actually put out and see if the experience is any good. Straight away we can obviously see that the experience isn't a great one. We're currently running at 19 frames per second with an average of 19 as well. There's a lot of stutter on the screen, and although the quality looks reasonably well, it's not that good at all. If we drop back to the menu and give this little machine a bit of a chance, and we'll put the FidelityFX Super Resolution up to a performance mode and apply that, we'll take a look and see what we can actually gain back. Now straight away the frames per second have jumped up into the high 40s, so we're now running at around 48, 50 kind of levels. At average at the moment we're on 47, so again we have more than doubled the frames per second, and although again it's probably not the most perfect platform to be playing this game on, we can actually see that it's now even more playable, and the quality isn't diminished that much at all, particularly for when you've got such a budget machine like this. You're not going to expect miracles anyway. So I'm super impressed that we've actually managed to get a really good free upgrade on our super budget machine, which would probably be more than just actually dropping in a budget graphics card. So again, well done on that, AMD. In the testing we've done so far, AMD have actually really impressed us with their FSR technology. In the right quality settings, we've near doubled our frames per second performance, making games play much smoother on older graphics cards, while also giving us a near native quality picture. It's even given us a free upgrade for our super budget gaming PC, which has really extended the life of the Ryzen APU that we used in that system. But let me know in the comments what you think of FSR. Can you really tell a difference in the quality of picture? And what really sticks out about the technology to you? And I'll see you again soon.